Okay. All right. I am fairly certain I'm recording now. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. What's up, Timmy? Mystic Dragon. All
All right.
right.
Well, I mean, I know you've probably got some questions and stuff like that. But I'll answer Mystic Dragons first because that one's a really quick and easy one. There's roughly about 17,000 on the NFT bot and about 17,000 in the ITF, which has been renamed to Ray, RAY. So, yep. They're both sitting at about that range right now. We will be adding more funds probably within a few days after this trade kind of closes because we want to go through and review a couple of things and kind of see if there's anything we can do to make adjustments here. Just to kind of hit some better markers. Like one of the things that was kind of brought up and talked about was, why did we have a certain take profit, without the bot realizing that there was like effectively a brick wall right above it. So there's a couple of things there that we're looking to see if we can make some adjustments and some changes.
There's no
we
camera.
Can't really do anything right now, but that would be one of those things where this is the reason why we're slowly adding funds to see how things go, and why we didn't just close our eyes and just throw all the money at it in one shot and say, all right, whatever happens happens. So it's still going to be just a little bit of a slow process getting it in there. So hopefully that helps answer that question really quick.
Yep.
More funds will be added, but roughly it's about 17,000 right now.
Yep, that was one of the questions. Mitchinks was asking that same question. So no new funds have been added yet. And once this short that we're still in closes, that's when you guys are going to be pretty quickly, thinking about adding some more funds, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So we're reviewing the process now, but we can't really make any overarching changes to the bot, while it's in the middle of a trade, in terms of fully adjusting the way that we're doing some stuff. So one of the things that we've been looking into on the back end side is seeing if we can use AI or various algorithms to kind of determine both support and resistance for both longs and shorts. And that way we can try and kind of, even if it means taking a slightly less profit or a slightly less, beefy return, we can kind of ratchet that back a little bit and maybe take a smaller return, but we can ensure that we get out of the position much faster. So that's kind of the mentality that we have, and something that we're looking at on our side over here. But we don't really want to make too many crazy changes prior to this trade kind of closing out here. So it's still very much so the case where we're kind of just kind of slow playing it, I guess is the best way to word it. We're being cautious in what we're kind of doing, and we're not just kind of blindly throwing funds around and kind of hoping for the best. So that's why it's not a quick process here. I mean, if it was a case where we just threw everything at it, we'd be in a different situation, and not one that I'd necessarily be as pleased with. And this is part of the reason why we did this slower ramp up, is we wanted to make sure that we didn't have any issues trading wise as we continue to add funds in here. And this is something that we hadn't run into before. So it's very much so a case where a lot of other bots that were out there have already been beyond their liquidation. Unless they're like a dollar cost average bot. There are a lot of bots and there are a lot of traders that are already out there that have been massively liquidated, way, in the past here. We're talking a week or two ago, before the second Ethereum spike. So it's very much so a case for us where our bot is doing everything that it's supposed to be doing, and we just are kind of slowly adding the funds. As part of that process, it'll be, once this closes out, we'll start to add some more.
Cool. Does it have a liquidation price?
Not currently, no. Not with
Oh,
the hedge open.
okay, I gotcha. So
Yeah.
the yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that was one of the biggest changes that we kind of faced with the version 1 bot and the version 2 bot, which we're using now. So the version 1 bot, it opened up such small positions that we really kind of had to just get we had to just get really really lucky in order to kind of have any kind of decent returns. It would take much smaller trades. Whereas this one is supposed to be able to work kind of both ways at the same time. We've been working on a couple of automation processes, but the setup with this bot allows us to manually add a hedged position as we need to. And that's part of what we kind of do here, and the monitoring that we do end up having in regards to what's going on and the adjustments that we can kind of make. And we're working on getting that fully integrated into our system so we don't have to manually do it.
Cool.
But it's just a process where the hedging that we have in place and the capacity to do so that's built into our process and allowing us to make changes on the fly ensures that in a case like this one, we got to, hey, here's our stopgap number one, which is we open up a hedged long position, and we basically say, all right, we've opened up a long to cover any downside on the short until it kind of comes back into place, and then we can continue to dollar cost average up the short position until eventually a pullback allows us to take profit on the long and take profit on the short effectively at the same time. So
Sweet.
yeah, it's a longer term process. It's not one that we want to jump into immediately, because I know that was some of the questions, like why didn't we open up a long earlier? And the simple answer for that is opening up a long ensures that we're going to be in a trade a bit longer than we'd like to be. So like as an example of such, and this isn't exact dates or time frames, let's say if we're in a short position that is caught going the wrong way, like we were here, um, and that's not even technically the best way to kind of word that, because we weren't caught going the wrong way. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is dollar cost average up, and then when it pulls back, it takes a much larger profit. But let's say it just keeps going the wrong direction for us. Eventually, we can open up a long, and what happens is that long has a certain value based on kind of where it's at. And the short, as we continue to open up more dollar cost average, effectively that'll get us to the point where the long and the short can basically be canceled out, and we can just kind of take profit on both at the same time, close both at the same time if we want to. At this point, we still have the mentality that this is going to come back down and have a little bit of a reversal. Kind of settle back down into, like I said, anywhere from about 1700 to 1800. And then from there, it'll be a case where that would already hit our take profit at that point, so we'd be fine. So that's kind of the reason why we have some of these things in place, and it allows us to really kind of be much more flexible than a lot of other trading bots that are out there, where they can really only go one direction, and as soon as something starts going the wrong way, they're basically dead in the water, and they have to hope that it comes back the other direction. So it's kind of the benefit that we have here.
I gotcha. So, Tigers fan actually had asked a question that you kind of answered. He said, worst case scenario, if the bot never gets to the take profit price, what will happen to that trade? You were kind of answering that by the fact that when you open a long, you're kind of making up for anything that could potentially go wrong with that short, right? And then some.
Correct, yeah. And then the thing with that as well, too, is that with the long being open, we can effectively continue to open up short positions as it trails up. So, like, let's say it goes to 2300. We may continue to open short positions all the way up, following it up to, say, 2300, because our long offsets the short position. And that may end up bringing up our take profit to, like, I don't know, 1950 or something like that. And then let's say, again, I'm using this as an example. This isn't hard time frames or numbers. Then let's say in like a month or two, it trails back and hits our take profit. We could go from I don't know, like what would be, 2-3% to like 30, 40, 50% in terms of returns. And
That's
that's kind of
awesome.
the way that it works. Is that our bot allows us to kind of be on both sides of the ball all at once here. So, that's kind of the position that we're in right now, in a very, very minimalist way. And like I said, there's nothing, that we're worried about on our side over here. The long position that we have opened up is in a very, very good spot right now. And it's very much so a case where even if it pulls all the way back, we would still have more than enough profits on the short to totally cover the long if we wanted to just close out everything and restart. But yeah, we're
All right, and then I'm like just trying to put this together in my brain. So you guys are using 100x leverage, right? Is that accurate?
uh,
Hmm?
that is correct.
All right. So for every 1% that's invested, it's as if the entire amount is invested, correct? I mean, in essence.
Correct.
So, like, what percent of the funds that are in the NFT bot right now are do you have it like do you have a rough estimate of like what percent of the funds are in the short right now?
I think it's about 6 or 7% or something like that. Like it's not a lot.
Yeah, so
Like
that's the point I'm making. Like that's to me when you're using 100x leverage, it's kind of like you've got 100 bullets, and you guys have only spent 6 or 7 bullets on this short that could potentially bring back what like 20% profit right now where it stands.
it's a little bit over 24% is
Holy
where we're kind of at
crap!
right now. And again, that's not even taking into account anything with the long. It's like 24.18% or something like that is where it's
Wow,
sitting at right now.
wow, and the
Um,
and the take profit price is what 1832.
yeah, 1832.
Yeah,
That's where it's sitting at roughly right now.
jeez.
Again, we can kind of adjust that if that's something where it's like, hey, we notice there's a huge support level at 1834. We might just say, okay, well, instead of it being a 24% gain, we're going to just put ourselves at the top of the support level and say, okay, we're going to take a 14% gain or whatever it is so we can get out of this trade. And that was one of the things that, again, we learned from that massive spike that happened where Bybit missed it by $3 and everything else hit it.
Hmm.
There was just a much higher support level on the Bybit side of things by just a hair where it needed to get to that 38 range that we kind of originally talked about, and it got to 41. So if we
Right.
had set it to 42, we would have been able to get out at that point in time, with about, I think it would have been close to about 7% or something like that. Um,
Hmm.
but it just ended up being one of those, for lack of better terms, I'll call it learning experiences, an unlucky learning experience where, we realized that, oh, hey, we've got another factor that we have to kind of look into this as well too. And so we're working on implementing that into the bot also. And Callie's been doing some fun stuff with like AI testing to see if we can get the bot to recognize those supports and resistances on its own and
Hmm.
kind of, allow it to make better decisions for, entries and take profit prices and things like that. So,
Right.
yep, it's
Awesome.
all part of what we've been doing. While we've been in this trade, is like we're not just sitting on our laurels and saying, "God, I hope it gets back down there." Of course, we are saying that, but at the same time, we're looking at some of the things that people have brought up question wise, and some of the things that we believe that we can make adjustments on, and
Yeah.
from there, we're kind of going through and trying to make those changes where we can. Like I said, it'll probably be something where this isn't going to be like an immediate, like, hey, snap of the finger, this will be done tomorrow kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it'll be a case where hopefully once this trade closes, and hopefully it'll close, relatively soon. Um, we'll be able to kind of implement those changes and have it be done within like a day or two, if that's something that we think we can get ready and out the door.
I
But
mean,
we'll probably do some testing first.
yeah. I mean, it seems like the bot is working pretty darn well, so I hope you don't change too much, because it seems to be working pretty good. Um,
Well,
uh,
what I will say, and I think this is one of the things that um, I'm gonna take the blame on in terms of explanation and providing information. In a position and in the instance that we're in right now, where we have a short in the position that we do, and then even with the long hedge and everything like that, that goes along with it. But let's just talk about the short side for a second here. Um, this is one of those things where like patience is key. It's not a hey, we're worried that this will never, kind of roll back. This is going to go the wrong direction. Everything is going to burn to the ground, and money is going to be lost, that kind of thing. That's not, where we're kind of at here. Our bot allows us to kind of fully follow this up. I mean, the only way that we would ever be in a position where like we'd be at risk for like full liquidation would be is if the price continued to go up and never came back down at any point.
right.
And we don't see that happening here. And even with that being the case, that's where we have the long position where we can hedge against it. And that's what we've done, is exactly what we would do if, the trade isn't going our direction, or we want to ensure that we have that safety net in place. And so
Right.
with that being the case here, this just means that the amount of profits that it's accumulated and the amount of returns that it's accumulated is roughly, like I said, a little over 24%. Which, if you're looking at the numbers that we kind of provided for the NFT, our average that we're shooting for is around 8 to 12% a month. Which means that on a really, really good month, this is 2 months worth of returns. On what we would consider a bad or a rougher month, this would be 3 months worth of returns.
Yeah.
So it's a case where, in the position that we are in right now, we just want to remind people that, like, hey, this is a lot of returns. We'd love to be out of it right now so we can take advantage of some of the volatility that's going on. But if this ends up being a case where you have to sit in this position through the end of December, 24% returns over an average of 2 months, that's great. And that's one of the things that I'd like to just kind of remind people about. Like, this isn't something where we're going to say, oh, it's going to do 20% returns every single week. That would be crazy. I'd love it if we did that. I don't think that'll ever happen. But the position that we're in currently right now would cover about 3 months on what we would consider like a bad month at 8%, or 2 months at what we would consider like a good month, which is about 12%. So just kind of keep that in mind, everybody. And, like I said, we're not worried on our side. We've set up things to ensure that we're going to have a positive outcome here.
Yep.
It's going to be a waiting.
All right. Yep. That was very well said. This is a question from Tigers fan. He says, "Are the bots in the Prisma Discord, are those correct? And if not, what are the actual numbers?"
They are correct. So the NFT bot actually missed a 5% trade / it was like 5.5% trade, roughly 2 days just prior to the addition of some funds. And it was a case where, in missing that's the reason why there's a little bit of a discrepancy and a difference there. The bot itself is, again, still the same bot that's running there. So it would have been 8%. Unfortunately, it just had a where it was early on where we thought we had enough funds in the bot to kind of test it out and have everything running correctly. But we didn't, and it missed a couple of trades there. And the trade that it ended up missing was about, I think it was like 5.4% returns or something like that. So it's a slightly different amount for the NFT versus the ITF/Ray. But they are correct at this point. And they'll run pretty much 1-to-1. I believe what we are planning on doing is, once this trade closes out, we're going to kind of have like what I'll call like a soft reset. So that way it'll run like the first of the month to the end of the month, and that'll be kind of like how we'll break down the months in terms of data, unless we decide to do kind of like a rolling, like, hey, here's how it's doing the last 30 days kind of thing. We're still kind of debating and going back and forth on that, but the data is available and we can kind of adjust it based on what people want to see. So if you guys want to, give any kind of feedback in terms of like, hey, we'd like to see not just the, how it did last month, but like the rolling 30 days instead, we can make that adjustment. That's not too difficult.
And just have it be like 2 days behind or something like that?
Yeah, well, the number itself would probably show up to date because it's based on when the trades close out.
I
So,
gotcha.
like an example of such is the Discord bot currently isn't actively showing the trade, like what's being traded. It's just showing the returns. So,
Right.
like if the trade were to close today, we'll say, it'll probably take, I don't know, maybe like 10, 15 minutes to update. And then once that update occurs, it would be a case where it would show the new ROI and everything. So it's
I
just,
think people would get a kick out of that.
yeah, it's just going to be a case where, effectively we can kind of make some of those adjustments as people want us to kind of, show some different data. So yeah, whatever you guys want to kind of see, just let us know, and if we can make that adjustment, we will. I know we do plan on having like a specific channel for like the bot trades and stuff like that. But we're looking to set that up once this trade has closed out, because effectively it's not going to show anything until we exit the position anyways. So it'll just, the first thing that you guys would see is a trade closed and, profit taken kind of thing, or whatever it would be in terms of returns. So yeah, we're working on
Cool.
just getting that set up, but effectively until it closes out, there's not really going to be any kind of more, I guess, data to show. We haven't opened up any new positions either, so nothing has really changed anyways. And unless it hits some like crazy outliers, we're not really, planning on opening up any positions unless something crazy happens. Like Ethereum going, over the 2150 range into the 2200 range. So it's like we're quite a ways from that. And if it were to go the other direction, obviously the short would close, and we hit our take profit and walk away. So yeah, it's kind of like both directions. Not really a lot's going to happen unless it just really spikes one way or the other. So
All right.
that's kind of where.
Cool. All right. And so Nuroff was asking, is the extra NFT bots funds still in BNB, or do you think it might be an idea to move to USDT with the CZ news today?
We're still kind of debating because USDT had about $4 million that were seized as well. I think it was 4 billion, or maybe it was like 1.2 billion. They had some amount of funds that were seized for anti-money laundering as well. So pretty much it's just like we're just kind of holding on to BNB to kind of see what happens there. If we were going to adjust, we probably would move into Bitcoin, I would say. So we'd convert the BNB into Bitcoin and then just kind of continue to let it, almost be its own hedge against Bitcoin kind of going up, which is effectively what BNB has been doing here. So we are kind of monitoring it to see if it kind of ends up going a different direction. So like if Ethereum ends up going up and BNB ends up going down, then obviously we'd want to be out of the BNB position. But if Ethereum and BNB are following the same path, even if they're a little bit percentage-wise different, so like if BNB is down 2% and Ethereum is down 1.8%, they're still trending the same direction. So it's not really as much of a big deal as like say BNB being down 6% and Ethereum being up 6%. So that's really kind of the position that we're in, and if we do end up moving out of BNB, it'll either be into USDT or to Bitcoin, to kind of just act as a like a store of value until we end up needing to transition it back into USDT to add to the bot. So we've already converted during the last spike that BNB had, where it got up to the I think it was like 260, roughly right around there. When it spiked up to about there, we snagged a little bit of BNB, enough to meet the next deposit amount that we were going to do,
Cool.
which was bring the bot up to 30,000 on the NFT side. So we already snagged that at what was the relative high. It was like 259 is what we ended up trading that out. And
Nice.
grabbed about $13,000 in USDT. So yeah, we've kind of already been doing that where we've had relative highs. So
Nice. All right. So let me see. BNB's been holding pretty well, actually. It's 238 right now. But I thought it would react a little more strongly to CZ stepping down, but I guess, people aren't worried.
well, the whole market's been a little bit down as well too. So I mean, it's like I said, it's not a case where like it's doing slightly worse than both like Ethereum and Bitcoin, but it's all kind of roughly trending the same direction.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of one of those things where we'll kind of see them trending together. The only negative is if we see them trending different directions. Unless it's, like BNB going up and Ethereum going down for some weird reason. So that's really the only kind of quote unquote worry we have. But for the most part, they're all kind of heading the same way, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Not a extra factor that we have to kind of worry about at this moment.
Right. Well, I think we can wrap it up if you want to. I mean, I got a couple other things that I could throw out there just for conversation's sake. But unless someone else has a specific question, we can just call it a day and let Moongod go rest up. Anybody got any questions?
I think I answered the one from Mick, and then I got the one from Naroff as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So unless I think Butte is writing something, I don't know if I said that name correctly, but if he's got a question, we'll answer that real quick and then probably just call it there.
Cool.
But just as a reminder to everybody, we will make an announcement. Like if something happens and we hit the take profit, announcements will be made. We'll celebrate and have a bottle of scotch or something like that.
Yeah.
Some whatever, and party like rock stars. But
Yeah.
just again, the big thing that I would bring up is just patience. The market's going to kind of up and down. Nothing that we're too worried about on our side over here. Again, we still think that we're going to end up in about that 17 to 1800 range, and it could happen sometime in like December as well too. And even if that were to be the case, it's still going to put us in this very, very massive profit for having to be in this even for a little bit longer. So
Okay. Real
again,
quick.
if anyone's got any adjustments to the bot, make sure to message us and we'll see what we can do there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say real quick. From what I'm hearing, from people who know more than me, it seems like we may be in for a pretty good dip in the near future because I guess what's the big news that's coming out other than CZ stepping down? Is there something else? I forget what it is. Yanni, do you know what there's like the Department of Justice?
I don't know. I don't want to jinx anything though, and that's the reason why. I'm saying up and down. It's going to kind of be a little more mobile, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling that like as we kind of move towards the end of the year, and people are going to have to start kind of, realizing some gains to pay taxes going into the next year, pay for some stuff for Christmas and things like that. We could see a slow dip. I don't think that we'll see like hey, it's going to drop $80 in a minute kind of thing.
I gotcha.
I think it'll be a case where we could probably see it shave off like a 0.5%, to 1% every few days or something like that. So that would be like, we might move down like $5-10 every 2 or 3 days or something, and eventually kind of make it back into our range there. But yeah, that's
I
kind of
gotcha.
like my thought process on it, and we'll have a couple of up days in there as well too. But I don't think it's going to spike down and just be like, surprise, it's dropped $80 again today or something like that. So
Okay. All right. I had one more question, and this you can answer as quickly as you want. What is the process of you guys with the bot starting to trade another crypto?
you mean like from start to finish? Like, how do we do it?
I mean, like, if you guys were to start trading, I don't know, Bitcoin, or, I mean, obviously Solana was moving tremendously lately, but that's probably a lot more risky. But like, if you guys were to start trading Bitcoin, like, how long of a process would that be? And like, what would that look like? Would it be like a month of you guys like getting the bot, programmed and whatnot?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a lot of back testing. Is really what it would come down to more so than anything else. And then we would have to have effectively a feasible reason to want to split up funds
I gotcha.
to have a full second bot running for some reason. Not to say that we couldn't do it, but like as an example, as we've kind of talked about before, if we were going to have like a second run of bots, like this bot may perpetually just trade on Ethereum until the
Hmm.
end of time. And like let's say, we decide to do a round two of bots, that bot could be a Bitcoin bot. So anyone
Hmm.
that's, big on like Bitcoin bot trading, that would be the bot for them kind of thing.
Right.
But it would be a case, we'd have to do quite a bit of back testing. And, the thing to bring up with that as well, too, is that we were testing and back testing this bot for months prior to actually launching the NFT. We were using it originally to kind of to start recouping the funds for the ITF, but prior to that, we were trading, for months before that, and then even back tested, years of data before that as well too. So
Hmm.
it's very much so a case where this isn't something where we could just like you know implement the bot and say, hey, we're going to switch to Bitcoin. But I mean, we could definitely
Right.
do it, but it
Right.
it would take a bit of time to get where we'd feel confident with the results and the returns, and that's pretty much all it would be, is that we wouldn't rush it out. So if it was something that we were going to provide as like a product or an option for anyone that wanted it, um this wouldn't be something where we would just say, okay, next week we're going to turn our Ethereum bot into a Bitcoin bot. It would be like, you know at a minimum months of testing and back testing. um
Yeah.
Probably around like 2 to 3 months at least. And then
Yeah.
from there, it would be a case where we'd kind of decide the direction that we wanted to go with it. And, if we felt confident with it even being a viable trading pair. One of the biggest things that we can kind of run into is like massive swings on the Bitcoin side can end up having much more volatile effects, even necessarily than Ethereum. So it's very much so a case where you know, looking at those pairs and looking at those other tokens outside of just, like the big two, so to speak, there can be a lot of other stuff that goes with it. So, like, even with like Solana or, any token like XRP, even,
Hmm.
there was that 70% increase that XRP had. I will just say this right now, that would have liquidated our bot if we would have been an XRP, a 70% swing is absolutely insane. And a vast majority of people that were shorting XRP, there was nobody that was shorting XRP that made it out of there alive. You
Yeah.
know, so that's one of those things that we kind of have to take into account when we're looking at other, trading bots. Like we looked at it just for the sake of hilarity, and it was like, yeah, we would have been liquidated like 6 times over. In
Well,
just that one spike. Like this
and
isn't even taking into account anything else. Just that one spike, it would have just like nuked our entire,
but
bot.
why
No
do you
questions asked.
say that when like you were saying that the one time that you guys were even that you even had a liquidation price, Ethereum would have needed to go to like 109,000 or something like that.
The time frame that it took for it to happen.
I gotcha. So if
Yeah.
I
So
got
like
so it happened so
the
quickly.
moment that the XRP lawsuit ended, within seconds XRP shot up about 70%.
Ah,
I mean,
gotcha.
so like our bot can handle like things slowly increasing as time goes on. That's the reason why we didn't panic in this situation here. Even with the spikes that we were facing, even with the 12% spike that we had happen in that one day with Ethereum, no panic on our side. You know, the bot did exactly what it was supposed to do. Dollar cost averaged up, and then we had the long position that that hedged to offset it. XRP, on the other hand, once the lawsuit was dropped, it shot up 70% in seconds. So it
Right.
was a case where everyone went out to buy XRP. XRP was purchased, and it shot straight up to the point where if we would have been in a short at that point, it would have just like vaporized our entire position almost instantaneously without us being able to do anything to prevent it.
Hmm.
And so that's part of what we're looking to do within the system here. And do I think Ethereum would have been able to do so in that aspect? No. Again, mind you, we have a different way that we're trading our bot at this point in time than the first one. Is that the first one had a lot of micro trades that were in place there, but the problem with that is that it ended up having issues long term where it just wasn't nearly as viable. But the reason why I use the XRP spike as an example is it was a flash spike that literally would have liquidated and did liquidate a vast majority of the market at that given point in time.
But
So yeah,
so does that mean that like people who were shorting XRP at that time, I mean, what if they didn't have a liquidation price? Well, couldn't they have just held
it would have
until
instantly hit the liquidation price.
really?
So like everyone effectively has like a liquidation price to a certain extent. Especially in a short. There is a certain period of time where if you don't have something to offset it, your funds eventually run out in terms of coverage. And in terms of like a 70% spike in seconds, it can blast right through any form of funds that you may have had available, especially depending on the amount of leverage that you have and how crazy you're going with it. There's a lot of factors that can tie into it, but depending on leverage, the amount of funds that you have, and how quickly it happens, it can absolutely liquidate you, even if you weren't expecting any form of liquidation. So like if you look at XRP, prior to that spike happening, it was moving a couple of cents a day, not a lot.
Hmm.
I think it was like let's say it was trading at like 30. It was average plus or minus 5 cents, and then it shot up to like 85 cents or whatever it was in like 12 seconds or something insane like that.
Hmm.
And so that's really the big issue that you kind of run into with those kind of super volatile assets where it's like it's not, I'm going to say, mainstream. It's not the big two is basically the best way to look at it. And
So
that's why it's tough to kind of go into any kind of what I guess would be considered like non-primary token, but it's also why we can't just flip a switch and go to a different bot, or
yeah,
a different trading pair.
right. So yeah, so trading XRP would be insanely risky compared to Ethereum.
To a certain extent, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
there's positives to it. I'm not saying, like, again, to be clear, I'm not saying that XRP is bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just that there's a certain amount of volatility that in the type of trading that we are doing is not beneficial to us.
Well, and
Um,
the
you know,
the yeah, sorry, go ahead, you go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just one of those things where the volatility that can be faced in a token like that versus say like Bitcoin or Ethereum, there's so much that has to happen on the Bitcoin and Ethereum side in order to move it up, even like 10, 12, 15%. But like the simple fact that XRP was like it went from like I think it was like 45 cents or something like that, or maybe it was like 60 cents or whatever it was. It was to like well over a dollar or whatever in
Hmm.
in such a short period of time. It's very telling. the difference in liquidity that was there, the difference in amount of people that are kind of trading it, all of it across the board. So it just makes it categorically much more difficult to to rein in that risk when we're trying to trade the way that we're looking to trade and account for all of those other factors. It's easier to kind of just remove those other factors off the table by not being in there.
Sure, sure. All right, well, thank you for that. That was very interesting.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying XRP is bad. Please don't take that away from what I've just said there. It would be bad for the type of bot trading that we are doing. That doesn't mean XRP is a bad token or coin or whatever it's called. It's just it would not be good for what we are doing necessarily. And to circle back around, like I said, that doesn't mean that we at some point in time won't have a way to be able to trade it. It's just for this iteration of the bot that we have right now, we couldn't just, swap a secondary bot in there and be like, yeah, we're going to trade XRP now as well too. Like that just, that
Yeah,
wouldn't. We'd have to do a lot more testing. So,
sure.
yep,
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean XRP is a totally different token. Like it's not a blockchain like Ethereum where people are using Ethereum to hold other tokens. So it's like there's a lot of people that are, I don't know, it's just very different dynamics there.
yep. And again, like I said, doesn't make it good, bad. Doesn't make it like a, hey, I'm warning you, don't buy XRP. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's it totally serves its own purpose and does its own thing. It would be tough for us to like snap our finger and swap to that. We could definitely, you know, do a lot more quick back testing and live testing with like say Bitcoin than we would be able to like say XRP.
Mm.
But yeah, that's the long and short of it. We absolutely could have our bot trade other tokens. Whether or not it would be successful would be something we'd have to test first.
Mm.
And upon those testing and the results, we would definitely let people know, like, hey, we're going to proceed forward with this, or hey, we're not. But as for this NFT, unless something categorically changes, it'll probably just always be Ethereum.
Sounds good to me. All right, man. Well, thank you very much for talking to us for almost 45 minutes, even though you feel like crap. I hope you feel better soon. And
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure as always.
yeah, man, absolutely. And thank you everybody for being here. And I've been recording it, so I will be putting this on YouTube. I know that's how Patrick AMA is able to listen to this because he's not English, so he is able to I guess translate it on YouTube or something like that. Um, Butte says Moongod sounds better than ever. Right on. Yeah. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you Moongod, and we will see you next time. See ya.
All right.